Now the final party piece in this half-hour dance music, Tommy Sampson's orchestra, particularly the two trumpets of Alec McGregor and Terry Lewis, who have a sort of trumpet duologue in the middle of the show, and Joe Templey on his tenor sax bring you 4 o'clock jump.
This is Tommy Sampson. For more than 60 years, he's been entertaining people with his big band swing music. During the 1920s, Tommy followed in his father's footsteps and joined the Salvation Army. In this rare photograph, they marched down the high street in Ayr. And here again at the bottom of Leith Walk in Edinburgh. Tommy was born in Anfield, Newhaven. The family soon after moved to Fife. Tommy's father was a scrap iron dealer. He made his fortune from recycling surplus tanks and army vehicles. After his dad died, Tommy used his inheritance to finance and start up the band. It was one of the best-known British bands ever.
I had to fold my own band. My father died in 1948. When I had no money left, I folded the band. We went round the theatre. That's when the music hall was still going. So we went to see a comedian called Peter Sellers. And the moment I walked in, I had to sign his autograph book because he'd been a fan of my band. He was a drummer. My best friend at the time was Tony Mercer, who you will remember from the Black and White Minstrel show, but I took him there. But Tony was my best friend, and he had a great friend of Harry Seacombe, so I became friendly with Harry Seacombe at that time. A girl called Helen Mack. She'd been singing in my band the last year I had it. And I got a phone call from her this day in Chapels, and she said, "Tommy, I'm just back from Germany. I've been entertaining the troops. I'd like to come to have dinner with me tonight and tell you all about it." So she told me where to go to her flat in Hammersmith. So I went along there. And when I got there, this guy was sitting on a settee. She said, well, he was the comedian in the show, and he'd say, "Nowhere to sleep tonight, so you're sleeping on the settee." And we sat down and had dinner. And this guy, it was Spike Milligan. And he started doing all the goon stuff to me. And again, a big fan who played trumpet, and had been a fan of my band just a year before. So I was very friendly with all the goons.
This is the Samson Band playing the Edinburgh Jazz Festival in 2002.
Right, Philip, I must get on. And Danny, I'll just give you a ballad of your own. I've got a couple of great ballads, but the arrangement is such that...
My Foolish Heart. Oh, you got what? Yeah.
But your Foolish Heart, yeah. You've not done that again. You're not just Gina got married again, Danny.
When I was asked to do this, they said, would I play Glenn Miller music and Tommy Dorsey? I said, well, I don't normally play Glenn Miller music because there's enough people do that. Tommy Dorsey, I don't have any in the book, and I've not got time to write a whole program. It's true. So I said, can I please just play some of my favorite swing numbers? And that's what I'd like to do. I've always been a swing man, about 54 years now. Some time ago as band leader, isn't it? But it's 54 years since we opened at the Eldorado. And so I'd like to give you some swing numbers. Here's a great one. One of the great ones, Charlie Barnett's Skyliner. On the piano, of course, Tom Finlay.
Tommy Sampson and his orchestra, and with them are Dinah Kay and Alan Dean. Well, first, here's a beat for the brass. I think they're wonderful, but I may be wrong.
Well, I was working at the Piccadilly Club in Glasgow, in Sauchiehall Street, and Tommy's band came to Green's Playhouse. I went up there, 2 or 3 times to hear the band, and I finished up doing an audition for the band and got the job replacing Alan Davey, the tenor player. That started me off playing with Tommy's band, and which was quite a shock because first of all, it was a very thrilling, wonderful band, and I really loved it. I mean, it probably was the loudest band that ever was, big band. And people, when we used to play Coming Through the Rye and the brass section come in with that big chord, people just jumped out of their skin. But it was a wonderful experience playing with the band. And then there was all those good players. A band was full of really excellent players. Stan Reynolds and Johnny Keating.
The Coda Club in London acts as a melting pot for jazz musicians. 2 of the club's key members are Stan Reynolds and Johnny Keating, who were in Tommy's original lineup.
It was the beginning of a new era, really.
Yes, it was.
Tommy's
Oh,
indeed. It was the beginning of a new era.
Indeed,
it changed everything. It really did change.
It was healthier and more with it than any of the British bands.
We were really like the Beatles in our day.
It was all young guys.
It was young guys playing. And we just doing
the
our own
arrangements
thing.
were terrific.
And
they were just great.
Came off.
It was easy to play. And
we were dead lucky, weren't we?
And all the musicians all over England were talking about it.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, no paid us any money, they were talking about it.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is, everyone would say, did you hear this Samson band?
Yeah, that's right.
And we would say, what was it? You know, and it was great.
I mean, Stan Reynolds and Johnny Keating. Johnny became Ted Heath's arranger and went to America and did all that thing. But Johnny's from Edinburgh. And Stan was my lead trumpet. And they were both up here this year and the year before. They come up for a holiday. And we have a lot of love. But Stan was mad. Great. Ted Heath, he's one of the 2 that Ted Heath pinched from me. And I didn't find out, and Stan didn't know until just a few years ago, the reason he took him was, I reckon he made the sound of, had a great big fat trumpet, he had a singing sound on top, that bit of Billy Butterfield. And Ted reckoned if he could get that Stan away, my band would collapse, you see. That was his idea. And it was Stan who told me that afterwards. But Stan was mad. I mean, the things he used to do. And on the stand, the discipline was, if anyone made a mistake, I didn't know till afterwards, they got the Samson death loop, which I never knew about, but they couldn't play for three numbers. I was very strict, and no one did any talking or stuff in that band. But please, when someone is on, am I wasting my time? Talking to you, and you're talking to each other. Trombones are doing well. Trumpets, I'm sorry, but too much done to the stand. Off the stand, they're all my pals, and we had lots of laughs. And we're playing the Oxford Gallery in Newcastle, which doesn't exist anymore. There's now the big hotel there. Right opposite was Phoenix, the store. So we're set up in the bandstand. Stanley, let's walk across to the record shop, Phoenix. About 8 or 9 of them. So I go tag along with them. And Stan said, have you got any Victor Sylvester records? Which anyone will do. So he buys it, pays for it. And it was this old vinyl record. And kind of breaks it over my head, leaves me standing there and I'll walk away.
The drummer was Dougie Cooper, who was the band barber. You know, whether you liked it or not, if you went to sleep in the coach, you had a GI haircut the next morning, as soon as you woke up. That was it. Whoever went to sleep got a GI haircut. You know, there were no half measures, you just got a GI haircut. That was it.
We travelled in this rickety old bus. And but it was wonderful. I remember one time we rolled up to this job somewhere in Lancashire near Blackpool in a furniture van, and my mother and father were standing outside the theatre, and all of a sudden this furniture van rolls up and the whole band comes out of this furniture van.
Joe Templey was funny when Joe was in the band. Joe, the first broadcast we did down there, it was remember Berman's Bauble, wasn't it?
Yes.
Maurice Berman was a drummer, wasn't he, with
Melody Maker.
And he used to write this little thing, Berman's Bauble, for broadcast. And our first broadcast, it said whatever it said about the band, and then it said, and the tenor player sounded like a sick cow.
Oh, crap, yes.
Because Joe used to go, ooh, everything was like that. So every time I see Joe now, I get behind him, I said, you're still a sick cow, you know.
The accommodation was you know, we mainly stayed in boarding houses and things like that. But in London, we stayed in hotels. It depended on how we got paid, because we didn't get paid very much, you know. And sometimes we'd go and check in a hotel just so as Tommy would get the bill, you know, so as we'd get something, you know. It was my introduction to free jazz. And I remember Mac Minshall, we were staying in this place in Paddington, and somebody was complaining about the noise of the records. And Mac Minshall rigged up this harness, and he lowered his gramophone to this guy's window. He opened the window and put the gramophone out the window and lowered it to this guy's window and blasting away.
At that time I was meeting all these people, you know, all the show people. But that's how I got to meet all these people, usually through going around song plugging. I was very friendly with Eric Sykes at that time. Eric had been on a comedian, and he was on the same bill as Frankie Howard one week. And he thought, well, he's doing very much like me. So he gave up being a comedian, became Frankie Howard's scriptwriter, and did all the... Well, Eric and I wrote a couple of songs together. He did the music. One, You'll Be Sorry, it was for Palladium, and people used to walk along in the back and You'll Be Sorry. So I wrote a You'll Be Sorry, ba-ba-da-ba-do-ba. And then we did another one for Sunday Night, the Palladium. Well, he was always a comedian, just naturally. You used to, as a song plugger, you used to take people for lunch, and there was a sort of a big bistro type cafe just up the road from Maddox Street. All the song pluggers used to go there. I went in with Eric this day, and he ordered a steak, and he suddenly jumped up and he's away. And when the waitress was coming from the place, and he's trying to cut the steak, he said, I'm starving. Eric was always mad. A lovely man, because I knew every big band leader. I mean, I used to go and see them all. And the thing, Ted Heath, for instance, if I saw Ted Heath with a song, he would play it, because I knew I would never take one that wasn't good for his band. I was too honest as a song plugger, quite honestly.
I would like to thank Tommy for inviting me up to do this concert, and I'd also like to just pay tribute to a man who has got so much enthusiasm at 88 years old. When most people should have their feet up and drinking the cocoa, this man is actually still churning out arrangements. He's one of the fastest arrangers that ever existed in the world. When was it George Mitchell singers were on, he used to arrange for them. Everything came out of his head. When I worked for him years ago in the Barrowland, whatever hit song was just in, he'd be arranging it in the car coming over from Fiveshire on the way over to Glasgow. I used to do sessions, he got a few of the football sessions. We'd turn up at the studios, there'd be no music. He hadn't even started it at that stage. And he'd say, go and have a drink, guys. And you disappear for an hour, or half an hour even, and you come back and he's written all the music for the session, and a few of them were sort of very sort of going to the charts and things like that. An amazing man, lots of energy. Please give Tommy Sampson a big round of applause.
And when we're on that stage, when there's vocalists singing, we're only there for one reason, to enhance the vocalists. We're not there to show the band off. We have to make that vocalist really good.
I've gone around the world in a plane. I've sat around in Spain, and I'm not polite. Still I can't get started with you. On the golf course, I'm on the par. Glasgow Rangers asked me to start. I've got a house, showplace. Still I'm taking no place with you.
When we started it, George asked me to black up for the tryouts. After that, I was so busy, we had 3 choirs and 3 studios every day, things like that. When the first one had been rehearsing for 2 or 3 days, George said, "Oh, we're a tenor short, Tommy. He's got a chance to go for opera. I've had to let him go. So, will you black up and do it?" And they've been learning the routines, so... Well, I'd done a lot of dance routine with them, and at that time I could still move about quite well. This girl said, "I'll take Uncle Tom." So she took me through all the steps and that. Lovely girl, did it same. And next week, our baritone is sick. So George said, "Well, you know the music." So I black up again. "I'll take Uncle Tom." Well, she's not a dancer anymore, it's Una Stubbs. And Una Stubbs took Uncle Tom and taught him the steps. And she's done rather well, hasn't she? She's a lovely person. We were on the road this day, and I could smell something. I thought, that's not a normal cigarette. So I walked up, stopped in front of this trombone player, very good player, Manchester. I said, "Is that weed?" "Yes." I said, "Oh, yeah." And the driver said, "Stop the bus." I said, "Get your case, get your trombone, get off the bus." Middle of the country. Left him at the side of the road. "Okay, driver." And not one man said a word. No one said a word. Well, he went to America, Mac Minshall, and played with Muggsy Spanier and all that. Good trombone player. But that was the last I ever had of anything like that at all. The saddest one used to only drink beer when he was in full seaman, great drummer. He became the popular drummer, lead drummer, although played for me 3 times when Dougie wasn't well, and 3 times when Dougie was better. I said, "Bye-bye, Phil, sorry." Dougie was my drummer, he was great. But Phil was very aggressive drummer. But he joined Jack Parnell, and he started going on to drugs. And it was so bad that people were coming to record from America, and they all wanted Phil Seaman. They always booked another drummer as well, in case he didn't turn up, It was sad. He died through it all. And we wrote a great one for Lonnie, and he would have recorded it, but his agent wanted 50% of all the writing fees. And so I said, "No, I probably should have done it because we would have got more work." But I said, "No, that's not on. We've done this. I'm not getting it." And I did another one, which I wrote, and it was at the time of Suez. And it would have been ideal for, not my favourite singer, the Force's favourite, Vera Lynn. And she liked it. But I wrote, "Don't cry, my love." That was it. "Don't cry, my love, if we say goodbye." And in minor, your heart could break, but don't let him see. You're left alone with only memories. Don't cry, my heart. Don't cry, my heart. It was, "Oh, don't cry, my heart," it was, you see. And then it went to the major. There's stars, wouldn't it? And she said, "Oh, who ever heard of a heart crying? I'll change it to 'Don't cry, my love,' and I want half the royalties." That was Vera. "Oh, no," I said, "Well, there's no way. I'm not changing that." Cry, don't cry, my heart, as we say goodbye. Though you could, don't let him see. We're left alone with only memories. Don't cry, my heart, it has to be. The clouds will pass, he'll come home again. From doubt and fear you will be free. You'll laugh again, and you'll love again. Don't cry, my heart, it has to be. Well, that would have made for Vera. At the time, they were going away to the war, And it could be good if I played the proper chords. War started on a Sunday, and naturally I was exempt because we were doing aerodromes. But on the Tuesday, there was a colonel I knew in Coatbridge, actually, who ran an army ordnance thing. He'd been trying to get me to join up with him in the territorials. And I wanted to be in the RAF, but he couldn't go in because I had glasses. He wouldn't take pilots. So war started, and 2 days after it started, I just jumped into the car and went to Coatbridge, saw Colonel Lyle, and said, "Right, I'm ready to join up." I volunteered into the army. Then we moved to Keating, and we managed to get instruments through what they call it was a comforts fund. From your wages, so much money was taken through the Red Cross. And so we collected money, we got instruments from the black market, started a big band, and for 3 years I did nothing but that. One nasty German, a dentist. I got toothache and I needed a filling in the back. So I went to see him, and he yanked 4 back teeth out and with no anesthetic or anything. And I've been terrified of dentists ever since. We were in Tobruk, and that was an experience because we were guarding the harbour, and the dive bombers used to come and bomb us. The guy shared the tent with Phil Mars. He'd been used to it. He said, "Oh, we don't bother, we just lie here in the beds." But then the South Africans, the general there was in charge, and he surrendered. I was down swimming in the harbour. Marched to a camp that night. Never forget, I had my cornet and had it under my head. When I woke up, it had been nicked. And I made such a fuss. Saw the man child, I said, "It's been stolen." I said, "I've had that since I was a boy." This Italian officer said, "Well, can you play it for us?" We got it from the guy who'd got it, and so I played Santa Lucia, and all the tears were running. That's how I got it back. From there we were moved and flown over to Barry 4 years ago. I saw on the television this gentleman, I may have told you about this before, I saw this gentleman, I came in with my laser switch television on, and just said, "Oh, he was a prisoner in Italy, but he's now living in Dunfermline." See that wall there? Well, over that wall there, there's television cameras outside there yesterday, BBC. I walked around and knocked on the door. This tall gentleman came. I said, "Were you in Keating?" He said, "Yes." I said, "My name's Tommy Sampson." And he put his arms around me. And he said, "Tommy, I was captured after you, about a week." He said, "I walked into the camp in Barry." He said, "I was walking, feeling very sorry for myself. I've been captured. What's going to happen to me?" He said, "I came round the corner, and there were 12 guys singing, you playing a trumpet, and we managed to get instruments through what they call it was a comforts fund. Got instruments from the black market, started a big band, and for 3 years I did nothing but that. But everyone was losing a lot of weight. I came out 3 years later the same weight, and I had the same food, but I was just so busy, I couldn't worry. And it was worry that did probably make most people lose 2, 3, 4, 5 stone. And the way I did it, there was 8 houses in Italy. You know, it had been an officer's training place. And there was 8 room place, and so many in each. Well, there were 1,200 officers, so that'll give you an idea how many are in each one. And I got people to go around each one and say, "Look, can you remember a particular tune for any reason?" And so we collated all these songs together, and we did this show. The year was 1920, the big news of that year, and you tell it. And then he said 2 of the great songs from that, and we'd play them. We're doing this show, and someone came in and said, "Walt Disney's arranger has been shot down, he's in the camp." Well, you never believed all the stories you heard. Anyway, after the show, this guy came up to me and said, "Tommy, my name's Perry, I work with Disney." He said, "I never thought I'd hear anything like this." And he said, "But you're having to play a lead trumpet and do the jazz and everything." He said, "My navigator's a lead trumpet." So I knew the guy was up the wall. This wasn't true anymore, you know. And then he said, "Have you heard Harry James Williams had the craziest dream?" I said, "No." He said, "Can I do an arrangement for you? Do you rehearse?" I said, "Every morning." Well, the next morning he brought the trumpet player along, Vince Shanks, and he was a lead trumpet, a good lead trumpet. We eventually had him, there's a thing called "So Tired from Making It," wah, 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 wah. He's the lead trumpet on that. And Vince got in touch with me later. But Herb was the most wonderful arranger. I mean, he conducted half a Fantasia for Sugarhouse. And Waterloo Bridge, you'll see films with his name on. And what I learned from Herb, we became the closest friends. And he wanted to take me to America afterwards. He said I was good enough to play trumpet in front of a band. But I'd heard Woody Herman, I'd heard Harry James, and "Oh, no, you're not good enough." So I didn't go. But he came and saw me, and after my band folded, he came over and sang. And he was a wonderful guy, but wonderful arranger. What I learned from him. In case you don't know, these arrangements have been, as you see it, by Ron Simmons. And Ron was my lead trumpet in 48 after Stan Reynolds. Fantastic guy. Right on the chorus. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right on the beat. Ba 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's going to sound quite good when we can play it, but we'll never play with the trumpets playing down the way. You play a trumpet that way, gentlemen. I don't care how many years you've had in it. You play that way, and then you cover over everyone, and they hear you. And in a big band, you'll never hear the trumpets playing that. I won't do any more with it just now. Danny Moss. Anyone doesn't know him? He's an Australian.
Hey. Who's got the break? Is it another break?
All you've got, unfortunately, is a dot over the note. Most important. Just that little gnat's cock of a silence. It's the Stevie Wonder thing of Sir Duke, if you're into that. Which Sir Duke is down, and that's, we play that twice. It's a little subtle thing, Sir Duke, of Mr. Ellington. When I go green.
All right.
Which shade?
Right, it goes from the cymbal beats.
This is Tommy rehearsing in 2002 for the Jazz Festival. Among the lineup are the well-known musicians Danny Moss and Eric Delaney, who both played in Tommy's band throughout the years.
When it comes to that, right, Eric, we'll get that in for you.
Sorry, in that case, make it an elongated timpani solo where it says timped count in.
I mean, I'd rely on my drummers to have more intelligence than I have. They always have.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Eric Delaney.
first thing that happened, we were at the Eldorado for, the first period of the band, and then we actually got a broadcast in London, which this was the funniest thing, because with no money, nothing had money, and he got a coach. He bought a Dodge, one of those ex-army American things, and I forget his name, John somebody, became band boy, and he built all bunks in it. And we had flying up jackets, to zip up things that we could kip in with underneath, over the top of a dress suit, which could be nothing else. And we're coming down to London in this thing, and we're all sort of asleep, getting down to London about 3 or 4 in the morning. And it went over an island and bumped to some, and all the things collapsed. And we're all down on the floor. And we won't believe it, but we stayed 3 days outside the Paris cinema in Piccadilly, sleeping in that thing for 3 days, and did the broadcast. And then we went all the way back. I think Tommy had that one marvellous thing about him. He could understand sounds, and all the guys fitted in. He knew guys that played with the right sound. So if you had 4 trumpets, they all sounded good, or trombones, whichever one. He had that real knack of finding the right. Whoever turned up. If they were no good, they didn't last very long, and he'd get the right guy was in. And I think, to me, that was Tommy's magic, I think, really. And beside the fact that he knew he had Edwin Holland writing the best arrangements of the day, really, in my book anyway. I thought he was just fantastic.
That's when I was 27. I'm showing you this for a reason, and that's when I was 68, touring Japan. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because of this. Tommy Sampson's mentioned in there. It's the great band. As a session musician for 50 years, he's played recordings with the Beatles on Penny Lane. And that's where I get my beer money through the door, on the royalties of Penny Lane.
So you're on the Penny Lane?
Yeah. So, no, the piccolo trumpet was John Mason from the Philharmonic Orchestra. We've got £6 a session. So but we thought marvellous. We stayed there for one number, 2 sessions, £12. What a lot of money that was. But of course later, when they found it was a hit, the union fought for James May, because that was part of Mayfield.
There have been some of these.
And he got £1,000 in his hand. But we've been still getting royalties through the post. Well, I get a big list like this, like Tom Jones 50p, Ted Heath 27p, and it goes down and down. The Beatles £47. So it's a bit of beer money.
No, my watch. I came back from Switzerland. The only thing I had that was worth anything, I had a lovely gold watch. I don't know whether it was gold. Well, it was gold, a chronometer. And every Thursday, I used to flog it. We lived in Edgware Road, just near Edgware Road, and there was about 4 of us in the same digs. Which Mrs. O'Malley, I remember well. She said, lads, go and get down, you get your breakfast. We go down for breakfast. And then she said, come back in half an hour and I'll give you another one. Because that was us for the rest of the day. We never ate again. So that's what we used to. She was marvellous. And this watch of mine, I used to pawn it every Thursday so as we could eat on the Friday. And then whatever we collected, all the money up again by the Monday or Tuesday to get the watch out. Then pawn it again so we could have another snack, And that used to be. And the other good thing about we'd no suits, of course, but Tommy had a brown zoot suit, big brown zoot suit, which if you ever got a bird or you fancied a bird and you've got a date going, you had to go and borrow the jacket because we'd no suit, so we always used to borrow this jacket. And I saw Tommy the other week, and he said, you own the jacket. I didn't. No, we couldn't own the jacket. He owned the jacket, and he's not admitting that one, is he?
I think we did about 3 gigs a week at the Eldorado in Leith. The band was fantastic. The Ted Heath band came to the Usher Hall, came in to hear this Ted Heath band, this Tommy Sampson band. And they frightened him. They thought, what a sound! Great sound. This was the quality of the band. We were all young teenagers, but we had a sound. It was different. It was beautiful. And of course, in the end, Ted he took all the... he collapsed Tommy Sampson. Tommy wouldn't believe this, but he did, and eventually took all Stan Reynolds and myself and Harry Hot. All the different guys came to Ted Heath Band. The morals were so good in those days. There was no swearing even, I'm telling you. You won't believe it. All we thought about was playing. We were dedicated.
That's one double, two doubles, three doubles.
Well, that says band. And remember, you're all there really, to me, to back my good singers. I'll put up with other stuff you do, but you're there to back my good singers. All right?
He's good singers.
Fun?
You singing?
No, I've left off today. Just that Billy Hunter won't let me. Right, let me hear the fanfare first. And Rona will say,
Tommy Samson.
1, 2, 2, 2. It goes, and trombones on that first figure belt it. You know, big thing. Right, because that's the next thing you do. When you finish, strike up the band. 1, 2, 2, 2.
It's the Billy Cotton Band Show.
Right, it isn't, and that's supposed to be funny.
Wakey!
Wait a minute. Adrian, I'd remember now. I'll just wakey. It's the Billy Cotton Band Show. Adrian shuts it.
You said croaky.
Tommy lets his band hear a 1948 BBC recording of The Good Earth. This hasn't been played since it was recorded 60 years ago. Today, Tommy gets the band to play his arrangement live.
Because Hamish is a superb artist. I mean, in the way he stands in front of Fat Sam's band knocks me out. He remembers all the songs and plays, and it's the most intense. It's my favourite band. I mean, if I wanted to entertain myself for a night, I wouldn't go and stand in front of my band. I'd go and listen to Hamish's band. It's a fact.
Now, stop the extravagant entertainers. Big
The band made many BBC broadcasts. yet never made a commercial recording. All that exists is an old 78 shellac record of the orchestra's music, which since has become a collector's item.
My band isn't a band, it's a family. But I think I've done a good job, and I've been happy. Remember, I was a happy musician. So I've given, but I've received much more.